Hello, this is DoctorMakenstuff. It's been a while, guys. Anyways, I'm here to review Solo, a Star Wars story. This one's really fucking good. I mean, this is a good Star Wars movie, right, guys? Wait, what's that? You mean you don't like it? You mean... Right, okay, so this review's late, and in the time since I saw this movie, there's been a lot of reviews and a lot of comments, and pretty much all of them are that this is the worst movie ever to exist ever. That this is the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Wars since, like, the prequels or whatever. I know people who actually dislike this movie more than the prequels. To that I have to say, are you fucking nuts? I mean, seriously, what the fuck? So, yeah, I'm gonna do a positive review of Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm sure this is gonna be fucking popular. So, yeah, let's get to it. So, I'm gonna basically go one by one with the criticisms that people have with this movie and, you know, fucking destroy them. To that end, what is the first major criticism about Solo? What's the first thing that comes to people's mind when they're like, this movie's a bad movie? And apparently that's the pacing. The movie is supposedly too fast in most parts and too slow in others. These are the same people who are like, Rogue One's pretty good. And it's like, no it's not. Rogue One is planet over here, planet over there, planet over there. Oh look, there's a plot! There's a plot! She floats! And then everybody dies. For the purposes of comparing and contrasting this film to another film similar to it, I'm going to be comparing Solo, a Star Wars story, to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, a lot. This isn't because the two films are similar, but this is because they're both anthology films, they both came out recently, and because fans had differing reactions to them. And I feel like whatever you say is wrong with Solo is doubly true, if not more so, about fucking Rogue One. In other words, if it's an issue in Solo, it fucking kills Rogue One. So to that end, you're going to be hearing Rogue One brought up a lot. So I just wanted to let you know that before I hear about it in the comments. So, okay. In Solo, at least you know where you're at. It's like, oh, you're in Corellia, and Han Solo is on his Oliver Twist shit, and he's trying to make it in the big bad world and get the fuck off of this shitty-ass ghetto planet, and he wants to take his honey and get the fuck out. It's a good plot. It's a good beginning plot. Alright, and you know exactly where you are, you know exactly who you're with. You see Han, and you're like, oh, it's fucking Han Solo. He's got the jaw, he's got a fast car, he's making out with a lady, he's stealing shit. It's like, yeah, that's Han. Sure, I buy that. That's another thing people complain about, is that, oh, the actors don't pass as who they're supposed to be, but we'll get to that later. We're gonna stick to pacing for right now. Another thing is, like, people are like, oh, it goes too quickly. This movie's too fast, and then it slows down in some parts. Well, it's an action movie. The action-y parts are supposed to go quickly. I mean, you can follow all the action, you know what's happening. And there's parts where it slows down so that characters are allowed to breathe, which is more than I can say for Rogue One. There was no scene in Rogue One where it stops for a second and lets characters just talk and chill. That never fucking happens. You never learn who the fuck Chirrut Inway is. There's not that scene where you learn about him and his relationship with his shooty friend. There's no heart-to-heart moment in Rogue One at all. Unlike Solo, a Star Wars story, which has the fire scene, the scene in the changing room. There's a whole bunch of little scenes where it's like it slows down a lot so you learn who characters are. So, yeah, just generally I'd say that the pacing is better. It speeds, it slows down, it speeds, it slows down. It has arcs, like a movie should have. Now, is it a little bit faster than maybe a Star Wars movie in the past should have been or would have been? Well, yeah, but this isn't the 1970s. Every movie that's been made in modern times has been about 30 minutes shorter than it needed to be. You know, there should have been about 30 minutes more to every single movie made since, like, the early 2000s. So, really, that's not a complaint. It being too quickly really isn't a complaint you can make, so long as you can follow the action. And you can follow the action in the movie. You always know where you're at. Also, even though everything's quick, that is kind of the point. This is a heist movie with a time limit. I mean, the bad guy's going to kill them if they fuck up the job. The product is going to blow them up if they fuck up the job. They only have so long until something fucks up and kills them all. You're supposed to feel a little bit of, come on, let's go. The Kessel Run has always been pitched to us as this event wherein Han and the Millennium Falcon did something really impressive very quickly with very little time. Like, it did the Kessel Run. in less than 14 parsecs. That's a big deal that there was a fast event. And so I feel like a movie about the Kessel Run, and about Han's early years, and about a heist, is going to have that speed to it where it feels like, holy shit guys, we gotta do this or else. So I feel like in a certain sense the pacing is stylistic, but at least they planned around it to the extent that you're always comfortable in knowing, hey, I know where I'm at. I know where I'm at, I know what I'm doing. Cool. So the pacing's pretty much fine, especially when you compare it to Rogue One. But the pacing isn't the only problem that people have with this movie. Another issue people have is, this is all old stuff we knew before. We didn't need this film to exist at all. Why did we need to know about the Kessel Run, or how Chewbacca and Han met? Why do we need to know any of this stuff? They feel like this movie, before it even came into existence, was already old hat. And I have some things to say about that too. So point number one, to those that are like, oh, well, ugh, of course it's about the Kessel Run and Chewbacca and Han meeting and Han getting the Millennium Falcon. This movie isn't surprising at all. Well, yeah, no fucking shit. What the hell did you think this movie was going to fucking be about, guys? Did you think it was going to be about Han, like, going on a fucking picnic? Did you think about be like Han and Greedo's sexy fun time adventures? What the hell did you think it was going to be? Of course, it's about Han Solo getting the Millennium Falcon, meeting Chewbacca, and doing the Kessel Run. There was nothing else this movie could have been about. They chose the most interesting parts of Han's life that hadn't been shown before and showed that. It's a rule of storytelling that wherever the most interesting stuff is happening, that's what you show the audience. So of course all of this important crap happens at one time in Han Solo's life that they can wrap up into a film that isn't a trilogy or anything like that, because that would be expensive and risky. So of course they cram all of this stuff into one movie. You knew what this movie was going to be when you went to see it. So the complaint that, oh, the Han Solo movie is exactly what I thought it was going to be, really isn't a starter. It's not something that you can lean into a review with and be like, that's the reason this movie sucked. Because anybody who went to see it knowing that's what it was going to be about. So you almost can't hold that against this movie, because that's the only way this movie would have ever been greenlit in the first place. And if they wanted to make a movie about Han Solo, this is exactly what it was always going to be. It's a little bit like saying there's too much burger on my burger. You know, you're basically saying there's too much of Han Solo's story in the Han Solo movie. It's like, you don't fucking say. Well, I'll take that burger off of your burger right away, sir. You know, it's really fucking confusing when I hear that as a criticism. And it's not like this movie is completely comprised of events that we already knew. There's a lot of stuff that's brand spanking new. The cool fast-talking robot L3, for instance, Lando's buddy. We never met that character before. We've never seen vibro blades on screen before. There's really cool shit like the vibro saw with the force hammer on the end of it, wielded by Invis Nest, who is a really cool play on the Boba Fett Darth Vader archetype. We've never really seen it done quite that way before. Red Dawn is this mysterious game that I don't think I've ever heard of before. I mean, I knew that Darth Maul had a game, I guess spoilers, but we'd never seen him on film before. So this is all really neat new stuff. I didn't know that Han could speak Wookiee. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I hate that scene. Han never spoke Wookiee before, but he just met Chewbacca, and Chewbacca was freaking out, so it makes sense that he would speak Wookiee to say, hey, I'm an ally, you should listen to what I have to say. I think it was really funny seeing Han Solo actually do the you know, it's interesting. There's lots of neat stuff we didn't know before. Like, when C-3PO says, your ship has a most peculiar dialect, we now know he's talking about L3 being a part of the computer of the Millennium Falcon. It's just, there's a lot of cool little details. Like how Han goes to punch Lando, and that's when he steals his cards. He does the punch hug that Lando does in reverse when he ends up tricking Han. It's like a meme in their relationship that we get to see the beginning of. So for people who are like, oh, this is exactly what I expected to be and I didn't see anything new, well, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. You saw about as much new stuff as you possibly could. I think it's neat seeing Han's humble beginnings as a mud trooper, as a Oliver Twist kid in love back on Corellian. It's cool to see that he wasn't always this badass smuggler, that he did have a start. just like anybody else in a galaxy far, far away. Now, there are some other complaints. Things about, oh, the actors who were playing the characters, or the fact that there wasn't a strong central antagonist. I think they did as good of a job as they possibly could have with Lando, Han, Chewbacca. It all feels right. I feel like there were some great character moments. Seeing Chewie all jacked up and muddy and skinny, I was like, no, you've got to rescue Chewie. I think I may have actually yelled that at the screen. I mean, there were some awesome Han Solo moments where it's like, yeah, that's how Han acts. That's amazing. So I felt like the characters were right. I feel like if Han was going to have a mentor, some asshole who gives him a gun and then later tries to shoot him to death and betray him, it feels about right. I mean, Han is kind of a jaded character. He didn't end up that way by accident. Not only that, but this is a heist movie. It's a heist movie. The villain is time. The villain is not getting away with the heist. The villain is never going to be this strong, centralized antagonist. Darth Vader is not in the film. The Emperor is not in the film. What we get is some gangster that wants them to go do something to pay a debt. That's the best you could have possibly hoped for. He's intimidating enough on screen, and I mean, there's not going to be some villain hamming it up all the time, making grandiose speeches, because we got to go to the next place and do the next thing. And I don't feel like that's a weakness. I mean, we dodge all of the stereotypical Star Wars hero journey stuff because we're in a different kind of movie. This isn't Luke Skywalker's film, it's Han Solo's movie. It's not King Arthur. He doesn't get a magic sword and go with a wizard on a journey. He's pulling off a heist. And I feel like to that end, this movie's really, really good. It's the best Star Wars heist movie there was ever going to be. Certainly better than Rogue One, a heist movie. You know, because that was all about stealing the Death Star plans, and that movie bored me to fucking tears. So, to sum up and wrap up, this movie isn't as bad as everybody's making out it to be. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd give it, like, if I did number ratings, it'd be like an 8 out of 10. I guess. There were puppets in the background, which I'm always appreciative of in Star Wars movies, because I love it when Star Wars is a living world. You see the plastic mold casts on things. It doesn't look like it was all CGI'd. It looks like a real movie. The costume design was all really Star Wars. I mean, this was about as authentic as it gets. Vibro blades have been screen tested. I expect there to be more Vibro blade fights. It's really good, and I hope that anybody who hasn't given it a chance, that hasn't went to see it, goes to see it and gives it a chance. And if you've already seen it and you didn't like it, or you were on the fence about it, go and see it again after seeing this review, and see if your mind doesn't change. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Anyway, this has been Dr. Making Stuff, signing out. Hopefully a lot more videos to come in the future. So until then, may the Force be with you.